Marcus didn't plan to become a millionaire. He planned to keep his head down, do his job, and retire at 65. But then he found a folder he was never supposed to see, and everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning in March 2019. Marcus Webb had worked in the logistics department of a mid-sized pharmaceutical distributor for 11 years. His job was simple: verify shipments, log quantities, flag discrepancies. Boring work, safe work, the kind of work where you don't ask questions. But that morning, while auditing a routine government contract, Marcus noticed something that made his stomach drop. The numbers didn't add up. The company, I'll call them MedCorp, had a federal contract to supply medical equipment to VA hospitals, veterans hospitals. The contract was worth $80 million over 3 years. And according to the internal records Marcus was looking at, MedCorp had been billing the government for equipment that was never delivered. Not once, not twice, systematically, for 2 years. Fake invoices, phantom shipments, inflated quantities, all carefully buried inside spreadsheets that only someone in Marcus's exact position would ever see. He printed the file, closed the folder, and sat very still for a long time. Here's where most people would close that laptop, tell themselves it wasn't their problem, and go to lunch. And honestly, nobody would have blamed them. But what Marcus did next, and the law that existed specifically for this moment, would make him richer than he ever imagined. And it would destroy MedCorp's executive team in the process. Marcus spent the next 48 hours thinking it through. He had a mortgage, 2 kids in school. His wife had just gone back to work after a health scare. Reporting this meant going up against a company with $200 million in annual revenue and a legal team on retainer. He'd seen what happened to people who caused problems at MedCorp. The HR director who raised questions about overtime pay, gone within 6 months. The accountant who flagged a budget irregularity in 2017, restructured out of a job. The message from management was always the same: keep quiet. Keep your head down, keep your job. So Marcus did what any reasonable person does when they're terrified and confused. He Googled it, and that's when he found something that changed everything. 3 words: the False Claims Act. It's one of the oldest and most powerful whistleblower laws in the United States, and almost nobody outside the legal world knows it exists. And here's the part that sounds insane until you read the actual statute. If you report fraud against the federal government, you can legally claim between 15 and 30% of whatever the government recovers. Let that sink in for a second. The False Claims Act dates back to 1863. Abraham Lincoln signed it during the Civil War, specifically to stop contractors from selling the Union Army defective weapons and supplies. It was called, at the time, Lincoln's Law. Under a provision called qui tam, Latin for he who sues on behalf of the king, a private citizen can file a lawsuit on behalf of the U.S. government against a company defrauding it. The lawsuit is filed under seal, in secret. The defendant doesn't even know they're being sued while the Department of Justice investigates. If the government wins, or settles, the whistleblower gets a cut. Since 1986, the False Claims Act has recovered over $75 billion for U.S. taxpayers, and individual whistleblowers have walked away with payouts ranging from a few $100,000 to, in one case, $250 million. But here's what nobody tells you about being a whistleblower. The payout isn't the hard part. The waiting is. Because what happened to Marcus over the next 2 years, the retaliation, the paranoia, the moment he was almost convinced to drop the whole thing, that's the part of this story that nobody in the boardroom was prepared for. Marcus hired a whistleblower attorney, most work on contingency, meaning no upfront cost, and filed his qui tam lawsuit in April 2019, under seal, in total secrecy. He went back to work the next Monday like nothing had happened. For months, nothing changed. He processed shipments. He attended meetings. He smiled at his manager in the hallway. Then, in September 2019, something shifted. His access to certain databases was quietly revoked. He was moved to a different team. Less visibility, less access to financial records. A performance review came back with criticism that had never appeared in 11 years of clean evaluations. They didn't know about the lawsuit, but someone, somewhere in that company, had noticed that Marcus had been looking in the wrong places. By January 2020, he was placed on a performance improvement plan. By March, he was let go. Restructuring, they said. What MedCorp didn't know, and what their lawyers would later describe as a catastrophic miscalculation, is that terminating a qui tam whistleblower is a federal offense, and Marcus's attorney had documented everything. The retaliation claim alone would become a $600,000 line item in the final settlement. The Department of Justice completed its investigation in late 2020. The evidence Marcus had provided, those spreadsheets, those phantom invoices, was the core of the case. Federal agents found the fraud went back even further than Marcus had realized. 6 years, over $18 million in fraudulent billings to the VA. In February 2021, MedCorp agreed to a $23.4 million settlement. Under the False Claims Act, Marcus was entitled to 18% of the government's recovery. His check, $4.2 million. 3 executives were referred for criminal prosecution. The CEO resigned. The company's government contracts were suspended pending a full compliance review. And Marcus? He used part of the money to fund a legal aid organization that helps other workers understand their whistleblower rights. Here's what this story teaches us that no MBA program will. The legal system has tools built into it specifically for ordinary people who find extraordinary problems. The False Claims Act isn't just for lawyers. It's for the logistics coordinator, the accountant, the nurse, the truck driver, anyone who stumbles across evidence that someone is stealing from the government. Most people who find themselves in Marcus's position do nothing. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know the tool exists. Now you do. If you want to know about the other federal whistleblower programs, including one that paid a single person $114 million for reporting one company to the SEC, that video is right here.